Welcome everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we are talking about how the Super Mario Bros. Wonder developers at GDC, the Game Developers Conference, has said some things about Mario Wonder that are now adding more credence to other possible leaks having to do with Nintendo Switch 2, Metroid Prime 4, and also the next Animal Crossing. How so exactly? Well, that is what we're talking about today. But before going forward, let me point out that we are aiming for a goal of 40,000 subscribers, so if you do enjoy my content, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. So during Nintendo's GDC panel, they took the time to talk a bit about Mario Wonder's development process. Part of this included talking about how they had a brainstorming session, that's what they titled it, for Mario Wonder, and they shared a number of cool little sticky notes conveying different concepts and ideas they had for Mario Wonder. One where Mario is surfing, another where Mario and other characters have really long legs, and a lot of different ideas that didn't make it into the final game. They even shared this one really cool idea where Mario is walking around with a small body but a giant blocky head that can be broken down. There's even some footage. If you go ahead and read Giovanni's Colantonio's article from Digital Trends about this, there he explains what's discussed during the GDC panel, and this includes how they gave us reasons why some of these ideas didn't make it into the game. In the case of this really wacky idea with the giant blocky Mario head, it was too large and it got in the way of progression throughout the environment. So this idea and many other ideas did not make it into the final game. And while this may be some cool interesting stuff, how do the Mario devs here add more credence to some leaks regarding other Nintendo projects? Well, this goes back to Nash Weedle. So Nash Weedle actually pointed this out on his Twitter, so take that for what you will. Maybe that's a point against it or a point for it. Of course, when we refer to these leaks, we should still treat them as a rumor until fully confirmed, so yes, a grain of salt. But Nash Weedle does make sure to point out that this brainstorming session is something he talked about last week when he was providing some information about the Animal Crossing project, how recently they had this brainstorming session for the beginning of the Animal Crossing project, and we got a lot of interesting details there that I already discussed in a video from last week, so if you're more curious on that, you can check the iCard or the end screen or what have you. But the point is, Nash Weedle made sure to point out that there was this brainstorming session, and now the Mario devs here are showing literal imagery from their actual planning stages of Mario Wonder, where they have it titled brainstorming session with all of these different ideas. So while I was somewhat skeptical that Nash Weedle might be privy to information on, say, Animal Crossing this early on, the fact that he's pointing out some things that are lining up with other bigger Nintendo EPD projects, suggesting that there may be a pattern across these EPD teams, maybe he is somehow privy to some of these early discussions for these projects. But something else that people are talking about right now regarding Mario Wonder is that they had over a couple thousand ideas. This is coming from GDC. And what's interesting about this is that if we go back to the beginning of October 1st, 2023, Nash Weedle had this big thread talking about different leaks that came out from the Tokyo Game Show, which not many other leakers or rumor people were talking about except for Nash Weedle. And there was this part here where he said, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, start of a saga. After testing the game, he took the opportunity to ask questions to people who have participated in the development. Apparently, there is a lot of discarded material that did not fit into this game, but they told him they are going to take advantage of it later. So here there's another little detail that wasn't public information that seems to line up with what the Mario devs are saying about their project, how there was a lot of ideas that had to be discarded. Now, for full clarity and transparency here, while people are talking about these thousands of ideas that were available for Mario Wonder now, this is not actually new information. If we go back to the Ask Developer series about Mario Bros. Wonder, they already told us about these thousands of ideas. Here's this last line of this paragraph from Hayashida. There were just so many ideas. Before this interview, I counted the number of sticky notes we had, and there were over 2,000. So something else I'll note, he's talking about sticky notes, and they've shown these sticky notes during this GDC event now, months later, but this whole idea about how there's a couple thousand ideas going into Mario Wonder, and that a lot of them had to be discarded, not new information. So then does that mean that Nash Weedle isn't really the first to provide this kind of info? Well, about that. This Ask Developer series was released on October 17th, 2023. Nash Weedle was talking about this on October 1st. So as I've brought up, Nash Weedle, before it was made public, provided some level of a hint as to how Nintendo goes about developing their games, at least Nintendo EPD teams, which is having a big brainstorming session early on, which isn't too crazy of an idea, but this whole notion of deeming it a brainstorming session is interesting, and I do think it adds a slight extra little bit of credence there. But then when you also factor that Nash Weedle was telling us about these thousands of ideas before even Nintendo made it public that they were talking about this, it adds even more credence, I would say, to his leaks. Now, we've discussed Nash Weedle many times before, and every time we bring him up, we talk about a little bit about the track history. There are many who like to doubt Nash Weedle, but Nash Weedle was the main leaker that talked about Metroid Dread before anyone else. They hinted at 3 announcements from Nintendo on Game Awards Day. It wasn't at the show, but there were 3 announcements, and all they did was say the number 3. And they've also mentioned things about Switch 2, like enhanced backwards compatibility and dev kits, a month or two before other credible outlets started talking about these ideas. So the overall point I'm trying to make here is that while we don't have 100% confirmation that Nash Weedle is a totally legit, reliable leaker, as time progresses, more concepts and ideas and leaks that he presents are being corroborated by other credible outlets, or at least showing to be somewhat related to what's going on with Nintendo. So last week when we got the Animal Crossing leaks from Nash Weedle, I was skeptical because he was providing a lot of information about these games extremely early on. But the whole idea behind it is that he was made privy to this brainstorming session, and, well, now it's looking like, okay, this is a norm for Nintendo. So if this is all true, what does this suggest for other leaks he's discussed in the past? Well, going back to this one where he was talking about Mario Wonder before even Nintendo was sharing these same details about Mario Wonder, he talked about some other things that came out from the Tokyo Game Show. So here, Panic Button now works with Switch 2. Speaking with a non-Japanese developer about the future Switch 2, she asked how easy it is to port her games to the new Nintendo console, and she directly answered that Panic Button is already taking care of one of them. If you're unfamiliar with Panic Button is a studio that's responsible for porting some pretty big games over to Switch, like Doom, Wolfenstein 2, Warframe, and they're known to be some of the best ports done for Switch. But they've also worked on some other big games like Forza, Doom Eternal, Apex Legends, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So I don't know what it is that Panic Button is porting over to Switch 2, but it is interesting. Maybe it's going to be a day-and-date title, a game that hasn't come out yet. Maybe it's a title that's already been released. Maybe it's Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. We don't know. But it's interesting to see that a developer like Panic Button is apparently already hard at work on a Switch 2 project, which shouldn't be too surprising given what they've done for Switch. But now let's take another look, because we did talk about this in the past, but with this seeming more credible now, I'm thinking this is holding even more weight. What Nash Weedle said about Metroid Prime 4. Some people have already seen Metroid Prime 4. A person close to Retro Studios commented in the Petite Committee that they are in the middle of marketing planning. This person also said that the technical development of the game is overwhelming, but that there are also many playable new features. So the part about people having already seen the game, if we were to trust what we've heard from the Xbox Era podcast, how the game looks amazing, and it's been compared to Halo Infinite, and the areas are big and open, not necessarily open world, then this part shouldn't come as too much of a shock. But where Nash Weedle says that the technical deployment of this game is overwhelming, but that there are also many playable new features, to me this is interesting because it's making it sound like Metroid Prime 4 is indeed absolutely a big deal kind of game. A lot of people who aren't big Metroid fans or who don't believe in the potential success of Metroid have really downplayed Metroid Prime 4, and I'm on the opposite end here, where I'm suggesting that Metroid Prime 4 could be a pretty big deal, and this is supporting that thinking. And this idea of many playable new features, that's exciting. How much of an evolution will Metroid Prime 4 be for the series? We still don't know, Nintendo still hasn't shown it, but you gotta think it's going to be soon, because they are talking about here about working on the marketing, and this was months ago. This was back in October. So hopefully we see Metroid Prime 4 this year. I'm personally dividing if it's going to be coming out this year or it's going to be saved for next year for Switch 2. We're not sure, but this is some exciting stuff, I would say, when you really put it into perspective. But Nash Weedle said something else about Switch 2 as well during this time. Here, Xbox staff at the Switch 2 demos. Yes, there were demonstrations behind closed doors. It seems that this time in a more discreet way. A person from the Xbox community commented that he was very surprised with what he had seen and that third-party support will be assured. So when we first heard about this, we were skeptical of it because not really anyone else was talking about these demos at the Tokyo Game Show. But here Nash Weedle is saying that it was done in an even more discreet way, so even less people would be made aware of this. Maybe that's why there weren't too many rumors about these demos at Tokyo Game Show. But to see that someone here from Xbox is saying that they were surprised with what they had seen and that third-party support will be assured, well, that suggests that the console is absolutely capable of running your typical high-end third-party games. And that's exciting because that suggests, yes, we're going to be getting some third-party games, and they may be of quality. So obviously, take this all with a grain of salt. It is a rumor. It may not end up being true, even if it is all valid, 100% correct information. Because this is all info before it's been officially announced, it's all subject to change. We don't know what's actually going to happen, but I find all of this stuff to be very interesting, especially now that it's looking like different things that Nintendo has been saying about their own development is lining up with what Nash Weedle has been hinting at over these last few months. So maybe Nash Weedle is a better leaker than some people give him credit for. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.